Hi friends, this is Bakapa. Welcome to API testing full course. You can access all the exercise which we have done in the whole API testing course. I have already provided this link in the video description. So anyone can access this link, and also you can get the whole collections and also the environment variable details. So you can take that URL which is there in the description of this below video and paste it in the web browser. And after that, so once it is opened, so you need to export this collections into your local system. So it will open like this after accessing the link. So this is a public access URL which I have shared it. You can click on this booking API. You can see all the APIs are there inside the two folders. So what you can do is you can click on this three dots and you can export it. So you can click on this export, and firstly you can export this booking API collection, and after that on the right side you can select the booking API environment, and after that click on this icon and click on the edit. Then you can click on three dots and you can click on this export. So this will export the environment variable details. So after exporting it, so you will get these two files. And once you have these two files, you can go to the Postman and you can click on this import and make sure you are there in this file tab, and you can click on choose files and you can select the firstly collection, that's the Postman collection, and you can open it, and after that you can click on import. So firstly you can load the Postman collection, and after that you can load the environment details. So as I have already these APIs in my system, I don't want to import it. And this is how you can get the exercise which we have done in the API testing full course. You can find all the code which I have discussed in the rest assured API testing full course. You can search with the Bakapayan GitHub in the google.com, and here you can go to the my GitHub repository, and over here in the repositories tab you will find the rest assured API testing framework. You can go inside this repository and you can click on this code and you can copy this URI, and by using this URI, and you can simply use the git in your local machine, and you can simply clone it by using the git clone and followed by that specify the URL. So you will get the whole code which I have discussed in the rest assured API testing full course. Hi friends, this is Bakapa. Welcome back to Tester Stock channel. I will be creating a series of tutorials on rest assured API testing. In this chapter 1 of rest assured API testing tutorial, you will learn what is rest assured, why we need to use rest assured, what are the advantages of using the rest assured, what are the disadvantages of using the rest assured. Then I will discuss what is API testing and what are the advantages of API testing, what are the softwares required for this rest assured API testing full course. Then we will see the precondition, what is the precondition needed for this rest assured API testing full course. Then we will see sample REST assured API request skeleton. Then I will discuss how to install Eclipse IDE, how to install TestNG framework, then how to create a Maven project for the REST assured API testing. Then next I will discuss how to create a first get API request, and we will validate status code, status line, response headers and response body. Then next I will discuss how to log the API request details and the response details, such as it can be the API request headers or API request body, or it can be API response headers or the API response body. So also we can specify the condition. We can log when specific validations are failed. Then next I will discuss how to create a post API request. Then we will validate status code, status line, response headers. Then we will validate API response, that is JSON object key values, and also we will verify nested JSON object key values by using the assertions. Then finally I will discuss how to create a API chaining. So in this you will learn how to save the any API response into the variable and how you can pass that specific variable value into the different APIs. So there we can achieve the API chaining. Let's start discussing about what is REST assured, why we need to use REST assured, what are the advantages of using the REST assured, and what are the disadvantages of using the REST assured. So let's see what is REST assured first. So REST assured is an open source Java based library to test or to validate the REST APIs or the RESTful web services. So REST assured, it is a library, it is not a UI. So REST assured supports for the different HTTP methods such as get, post, put, patch and delete methods. So get is used for to read the resource details from the application server. Post method is used for to create the new resource details in the application server. Put method is used for to update the resource details in the application server. Patch method is used for to update the resource details partially, and we will use the delete method to delete the resource from the application server. And also we can pass the different parameters, headers, cookies data, and also we can verify and validate the HTTP methods responses. And by using the REST assured, we can test JSON based web services and also we can test the XML based web services. And this particular library helps to integrate with the JUnit testing framework, and also it supports for the TestNG unit testing framework. And also it can be integrated with the Maven build automation tool. So let's move on to the why we need to use REST assured library. The first reason is it is an open source Java based library and it has active development community support. So if you face any issues while using the REST assured, you will get the very immediate support. That means there are many people uses this REST assured library and they can help you out when you get stuck in the project. So the second reason is, so earlier we were using the dynamic programming languages such as Groovy, Ruby for API test automation. So that was very difficult to test the APIs. And the third reason is, so REST assured, it become very easy and simple to test the RESTful web services. So basically it made a life easier to test the RESTful web services. So these are the couple of reasons why we have to use the REST assured library. So let's move on to the what are the advantages of using the REST assured. The first advantage is it is an open source and free to use. So no need to pay any amount to any person. The second advantage is setup is very easy and straightforward. So just it is a library, you can use that particular library in your project. The third advantage is easily integrated with the testing frameworks such as JUnit framework or the TestNG framework. And the fourth advantage is code will be more readable as it uses the BDD approach. So we will be using the Gherkin keywords such as given, when, and then keywords, so that anyone is reading that particular API test case or the test script, so they will be understanding the script very easily by just looking at the script. No need to explain them. So let's move on to the next slide, where we will discuss what are the disadvantages of using the REST assured. The first disadvantage is it does not supports for testing of SOAP APIs. And the second disadvantage is this library requires Java programming language experience or the knowledge. So there is no inbuilt reporting mechanism if we are just using the REST assured library. So we need to use the third-party tool. By using that, we can generate the reports. Now I will start discussing about what is API testing and what are the advantages of performing the API testing. API stands for Application Programming Interface, and API testing is one of the software testing technique which aims to determine the APIs are developed as per the expectations. So when it comes to the functionality or reliability of the application or performance of an application, that is nothing but response time of a server, and also we will verify the security aspect of an application. So these are the high level things we will validate in the APIs. So if you look at this diagram, so we have total 3 layers. First one is presentation layer, second one is business layer, third one is database layer. In the business layer, where APIs will be playing a key role. So that's where we will perform the API testing. In the presentation layer, so it is nothing but the UI or the web application, and database is nothing but it can be any database where data can be created, updated, or deleted. So this is a high level for the API testing. So let's move on to the next slide. So where we will discuss what are the advantages of performing the API testing. The first one is earlier validation. So testers can validate APIs immediately when development is completed. In case of UI, so we need to wait until that particular functionality is developed and it has to be deployed into the environment, then we'll start testing it. But when it comes to the API testing, so we can test the APIs immediately when dev team is completed developing the API. Second advantage is easier test maintenance. So API test cases can be created easily, and also it can be maintained very easily, so compared to the UI test cases. The third advantage is faster time resolution. Any tester can identify the issues very quickly, and also the dev team can fix those issues very quickly. So that is nothing but faster time resolution. And next one is speed and coverage. So when it comes to the API testing, so we can test the APIs very quickly when it compares to the UI, because we need to wait for UI to be loaded, or maybe because of environment issues, so UI is not working, or maybe server issue, UI might be not working. So by looking at those kind of issues or environment related issues or the functionality related issues, so testing the APIs, it will be a bit faster, and also we can coverage more. So that means we can test it fastly, and also we can cover more cases. The next one is programming language independent. So APIs are not dependent on any programming language. So it can be so it is not depending on the Java programming or Python programming. So API can be tested without having the programming language experience, or without needing any programming language. So it is a GUI independent, because if you look at the APIs, so it is a web services, right? So there will be no UI involved, so it is not depending on the UI. So for example, there is another team who are working on the UI, so no need to wait for them. So if the API is developed already, then go ahead and test that particular API. And faster releases. So if we are testing the APIs, so we can release the features very fastly, because if you look at the speed and coverage and faster time resolution, so by looking at all these factors we can release the application versions very fastly. So let's move on to the next slide. We will discuss what are the softwares required for rest assured API testing full course. The first one is Java. So you need to install the Java in your machine, and next one is Eclipse IDE or IntelliJ. So this is where we will write the automation test script by using the Java. And third one is we will use the TestNG framework. Then fourth one is we will use the Maven for the automation build tool. Then finally we will use the Jenkins to run our all the automation script. So let's see what is the precondition we have. You can go ahead and watch out this particular full course, that is API testing Postman tutorial full course 2023. So you must be knowing the how to test the APIs manually, so by using the Postman tool, so that you will understand very easily how to perform the API testing by using the rest assured. So that is nothing but how you can automate the API tests by using the rest assured. And moving on to the next slide, that's a sample rest assured request, how it looks like. So we have the skeleton. So if you look at this one, so it uses the BDD style, that's a behavior driven development. So firstly we have used a given keyword. In this given keyword we have the content type. So what type of data we are sending to the application server, then we are mentioning the request body, what data we want to send to the application server. Then we have specified the URL, to which URL we want to send the request body, right? So this is what it contains inside the given keyword. And coming to the when keyword, so we are specifying the HTTP method, so it can be get, post, put, or even delete. And moving on to the next keyword, that is a then. So in the then we are validating the status code, status line, response headers, or the response body. Now I will discuss how to install Eclipse IDE and TestNG framework. So let's discuss first how to install Eclipse IDE. You can go to the google.com, and here you can search for Eclipse IDE download. Then you can go to the Eclipse IDE official website. You can click on this first link. So if you come down, so directly you can click on this download. So it will download you the latest version of the Eclipse IDE. So if you want to install the older versions, you can click on download packages. On the right side, you'll find all the old versions of the Eclipse IDE. In my case, I'm using the Eclipse 2021-12. You can go ahead and try the 2022-12 or 2023-3. So you can click on the link, whichever the version you want to install. And after that, on the right side, so you'll find the Eclipse IDE for Java developers. So if you look at over here, so you will find the operating system wise download option. So if you are a Windows user, you can click on this particular link on the right side. And if you are a Mac user, you can click on this x86_64. And if you are a Linux user, you can click on this particular link. So I'm a Windows user, I will click on this x86_64. And after that, you can click on this download button. So this is the downloading part. Once you downloaded, so .exe file looks like this. In my case, I have already downloaded and installed it. And once you got this .exe file, and you can double click on this .exe file. It will take few seconds to open. And here you can select the first option, that is Eclipse IDE for Java developer. And you can click on this install. In my case, I have already installed it. I will close this window. So steps are very simple and straightforward. You can go ahead and install it. Once the installation is completed, you can search in the Windows search box as Eclipse So you'll get the option like this. So you'll get the app. You can click on this particular app. After opening that app, you need to select the workspace, and after selecting the workspace, the Eclipse IDE will open like this. So this is all about how you can download Eclipse IDE and how you can install the Eclipse IDE. So now let's discuss how to install the TestNG framework. You can go to this help tab. You can select the option as Eclipse Marketplace. So it will take few seconds to load from the marketplace. So all the plugins and apps will be listed over here. So it will take few seconds to get all the details. So in the search box, you can type just TestNG and search for the TestNG here. So make sure that you are there inside the search tab, and here you enter the TestNG. And if you look at here, in my case, I have already installed it. And if you look at the another software here, so there is an install button. So if I haven't installed this particular TestNG for Eclipse, so I will get this install button. In your case, you might be getting the install button. Simply click on that install button, and it will take the few seconds to install. And after that, you need to restart your Eclipse IDE. So this is how you can install the TestNG framework in your Eclipse IDE. So before we go ahead and create the Maven project, you need to verify whether your system is having the Java is installed or not, and also you need to verify the Maven is installed in your machine or not. You can go to the command prompt and verify here. Just type Java space hyphen version. So make sure that you are getting the proper Java version. So in my case, I'm using the 1.8 version. And after that, so this is how you can verify whether Java is installed in your machine or not. So let's verify now. Maven is installed or not. You need to use the mvn space hyphen version. So this is a command you need to enter. Then finally you should get the Apache Maven version, whatever the version you have installed, and you have done the path setup in the environment variables of your system. So this is how you can verify whether Java is installed or not, and also Maven is installed on your machine or not. Let's start creating the Maven project. You can directly go to this window and you can simply click on the create a project, and here you can select the Maven. So inside the Maven, you can select the Maven project, and after that we can click on this next, and you need to select this checkbox, create a simple project, and after that we need to click on next. So here we can specify all the details and we can click on the finish button. So this is a one way of creating the Maven project. So another way is you can go to the file and new, and here you can select the project. So here under the Maven folder, you can select the Maven project and you can click on the next button. And again, you can select this particular checkbox, that is a create a simple project. And after that, we can click on next button. So here we need to specify the group ID. So I'm giving the group ID as com.testautomation.api testing. That's it. So I will specify the artifact ID as rest assured API testing tutorial. So that's it. And I will specify the name as rest assured API testing tutorial. So I'll specify the same thing in the description as well. I'll say just I'll add the demo. Then I will click on finish button. So that's it. So on the right side, you'll see this creating the project. So it will take few seconds. So just wait for a few seconds. Our project will be created with the folder structure. So you'll find the src main Java, src main resources, src test Java, src test resources. You can open the pom.xml file, and here we need to add the dependencies. So the first one is rest assured dependency, we have to add it, and the second one is JSON path, we have to add it. So let me just maximize this part, and so that's it. So let's add the dependency here. I will go to the google.com, and here I'll search for rest assured Maven dependency. Then I will go to this first link, Maven repository, and I will click on the rest assured, and I will use the 5.3.0. So simply I'll go down, and here I'll copy this Maven dependency, and I'll go here. So here I'll specify the dependency tag. So inside the dependencies, we can include the all our dependencies. So right now we will specify only two dependencies. First one is rest assured, and second one is JSON path. So I will go back here again. I will specify the. So again I will open the google.com, and I will search for JSON path Maven dependency. So I will include the JSON path Maven dependency. So again I will go to the 2.7.0 version, and I'll copy this dependency to the my project. That's it. So once you added this one, all the dependencies, right now we need these two dependencies, and as and when needed, we will include all the dependencies over here. So you can save this particular file, that is a pom.xml file. Before we go ahead and start discussing about the REST API test case, that is a scenario which we are going to automate it in a couple of minutes, I highly recommend you to go to the YouTube channel, and here in the youtube.com you can search for full courses by Bakappa, and you can go to the full courses by Bakappa and playlist, and you can come down in this playlist. So there is a API testing Postman tutorial full course 2023. So you can watch out this full course, and we are using the same APIs which I have discussed in the API testing Postman tutorial full course. So now I will navigate to the Postman tool, and this is the whole collections, that is a Postman Collections, booking API Postman Collections we have created while discussing the API testing Postman tutorial full course. So let's start discussing about the scenario which we are going to automate it in a few seconds. So let's automate the get API call. So this get booking IDs API which will returns the all the bookings from the application server. So here I have specified the get method, and after that we have specified the URL, and after that I have not specified anything in the request body, and also I have not specified anything in the request headers also. So we have specified only two things. One is the request type, that is a method type, and after that we have specified the URL. Then we are clicking on the send button, and we are getting the 200 as the status code, and also we are getting the all the list of booking IDs. So let's start automating this scenario. Now I will go to the Eclipse IDE, and inside the src test Java I will create the package first. So I will right click on that folder, and I'll go to that new, and here I'll select the package. So here I'll specify the package name as pom.testautomation.API testing, and after that I'll specify the tests. That's it. So we have the package inside the src test Java, and I will add the class under the pom.testautomation.API testing.tests. I will right click on that particular package, and I will select the new, and here I'll select the class, and here I'll specify the class name as get API request. So that's it. So we have the class created. Let me maximize this class, and here I'll add the one simple public void, and I'll specify the method name here. So here I'll say get all bookings. So that's it. On top of this method, I will add the @test. So we are representing this particular method as the TestNG test method. So I will hover mouse on the @test, and we will add the TestNG library to the current project. And if you look at this particular project structure, there is no TestNG library present in the project structure. Once I click on this add TestNG library, you will see the TestNG library on the project structure. So let's add the TestNG library now. And if you look at here, TestNG got added, and let's import @test from the TestNG now. So it comes from the org.testng.annotations. So that's it. So as I discussed earlier in the slides, so we are following the BDD style while writing the API tests using the rest assured. So that's the reason here I'll use the rest assured dot, and here I'll specify the given. So inside the given, we will specify the content type first. So here I'll specify the content type as dot JSON type. So that's it. And after that, we have to specify the URL. So here I'm calling to the method called base URI. And if you look at this base URI method, it is accepting the string type of argument. So I'll select that particular method, and inside this one, I will specify this URL. I'll copy this URL and I'll paste it there. So that's it. Now I will call to the another keyword called when, and inside the when keyword, I will call to the get method, because we are making the get API call, and that's it. So we have added the URL and we have added the type of HTTP method. Then later we can add the validations. That is, we can validate the status code, response headers, response body, and status line. So we can discuss that a bit later. So let's execute this TestNG test. Directly you can right click on this test method and you can select the run as and TestNG. So TestNG test, or you can simply click on the run. So this particular TestNG test will be executed. And if you look at in this console tab, so our test is getting executed. Let me maximize this window. And if you look at this result also, so our test is getting passed. There are 0 failures. Let's start validating the status code. Let's go to our Postman tool. So once we got the response from the application server, so right now we got the response from the application server, and let's add the validation now. So we will verify whether we are getting the status code as a 200, and we will verify the status line as a 200 OK. And the third thing is we will validate the content type, whether we are getting the content type as application/JSON and followed by charset equal to UTF-8. So this particular value we should get it for the content type from the application server. And finally we will validate this API response has the booking ID field or not. So let's validate the first status code, and here I will add the keyword called dot then. So inside the then keyword, I will call to the one method called assert that. And after assert that, so here I'm calling to the method called status code. So for this particular method, we have to pass the expected status code. So that is of type integer type. So here I'll pass the 200 as a status code. That's it. Let's execute our API test now. So our API test should pass this time because we have passed the correct status code. It is taking few seconds because it has to make the call and it has to get the response. And if you look at this result, our test is getting passed. That means our validation is also getting passed. So let's try to pass the incorrect status code. So this time our API test should get failed. So let's execute the TestNG test. So it is taking bit of time. So that's fine. Let me maximize this console window. And if you look at this one, so our test got failed, and with the reason assertions are not working as expected. And if you look at the expected status code, so we are expecting the 100 as a status code, but we are getting the 200. So this is the expected failure. So this is how we can validate the status code. So let's try to validate the status line also. So if you see the fourth method here, it is accepting the string type of argument. Let's pass string as an argument. So we have to specify the expected result here. So let me add the 200 as a status code. And after that, for the status line, so always if we are getting the here 200 okay, so we have to add the HTTP followed by /1.1, and followed by that we have to specify the 200 and the OK. So that is nothing but the status line. So here I'll add the HTTP /1.1 and space 200 and OK. So this is how we can validate the status line. So let's execute the API test script now. So this time it will get passed because we are getting the 200 status code, and also we are getting the HTTP /1.1 200 OK status. So it is taking a little bit of time. Let's wait for the result. And if you look at the console output, our test is getting passed and there are 0 failures. So let's try to pass the incorrect data in the status line. If I just remove this OK, and our test will fail. So let's execute the TestNG test. And if you look at the console output, so our test is getting failed with a reason. So expected status line is HTTP 1.1 200, but so it is not matching with the our application response status line because we have removed the OK in the status line. So this is the expected failure. So let's add the OK over here. So this is how you can validate the status line for any API response. So let's validate the API response headers. So here you can call to the method called headers. So if you look at the third method, so we can pass the key and the value, respective value, expected value. So I will select the third method, and here we have to specify the two strings. First one is key and second one is value. So I will go to the Postman tool now, and here headers. And if you look at this one, so this is the key and this is the value what we are expecting in the API response. So simply I'll copy this key content -type, and I will go to the Eclipse IDE and I'll add the key, and similar way I will add the value also. So that's it. So let us execute our API test. So this time it should work as expected because content type is matching properly. So that's the reason our status code, status line, and headers will be, so these assertions will be get passed. So it will take few seconds, and after that, if you look at the output, so our test is getting passed. So there are 0 failures. So let's try to pass some incorrect data. I will simply remove the JSON here, and if we are getting the incorrect data from the application server, and our API script should get failed, right? So that's the expected thing. So when we are performing the automation testing using the rest assured. So we have passed the incorrect headers, and from the application server we are receiving the different content type, that is a response headers. So that's the reason. So this time our API test will get failed. And if you look at this one, so expected header is this one, but we are getting the different data all together. So this is the expected failure, and this is how you can validate the headers. You can try to add the other headers also, other header keys and the respective value also. So in my case, I have added only the content type. So let's try to validate this particular field is present in the API response or not. So now what I will do, simply I will call to the one more keyword called, I'll say extract. So inside this extract, I will call to the method called response. So this response will returns us the response type of data, and if you look at this one, so it returns the response type of data. Simply I will assign to the response type. So here I'll say the variable name as response, and I will import this response from the io.restassure.response. That's it. So now we have the response. Once we have the response, and validating the API response is very easy. So what I will do, I will come down here and I'll say assert dot, I'll say assert true. So inside this one, I will simply call to the assert true, and here we have to specify the Boolean condition. So here what I will do, I will take this particular response variable and I will convert into the string. Before that, I will convert response into the get body. First I will pick the get body of the API response, and once we have the API response body, I will convert into the string type. So once we have the string, we can validate anything, right? So here I'm calling to the method called contains. So simply inside the contents, I will specify the field which we are validating from the API response. So simply I'll copy this field name, that is a booking ID, and I'll paste it here. So that's it. So what we have done, so we have extracted the response from this particular API. So once we got the response, we are taking the response body and we are converting into the string. And once we have the string, and simply we are checking this particular string has this particular field or not. So that's it. So let's execute the script now. So it will take few seconds to make the API call and to get the API response, and after that it will validate all the stuff. So before that, so let me add the JSON over here. So this could be one of the reason it might have failed. So let's execute the same test case once again, because earlier while validating the headers we have removed the application /JSON was there previously, and we have removed it, and we have verified this particular header assertion is working properly or not. We have verified. So that was the reason it got failed. Now this time it will get passed, and if you look at this one, our test is getting passed. So for example, let's assume so our API response is returning the different field. So let's say here we'll add the different field name incorrect data. So I will specify the in caps as ID. So this particular field is not there in the this particular API response, right? So this time this API test will get failed. So let's execute this test case now. And as usual, it will take few seconds to execute the API test script. So let's maximize this console window, and eventually you should be able to see the failed as a result. So if you look at this one, so our test method got failed, and with the reason, so expected is true, but we are getting the false. That means, so this particular string does not contain this particular string, that is a booking ID. So this is how you can validate the status code, status line, API response headers, and the response body. So far you have seen how to create the GET API request using the REST assured. Now I will discuss how to create the POST API request using the REST assured. I will navigate to the Postman tool now. So here I am using the create booking API. So here I have specified the post as the method name, and after that we have specified the URL, and also we have specified the header as content type as the application/JSON, and in the request body we have specified the first name, last name, total price, deposit paid, and we have another JSON object inside that, that's a booking, dates, and we have the another key and the respective value, that is additional names. So once we have specified all these details, we can make the post call. Then we will get the 200 as the status code, and we'll get the booking ID. So here we will get the first name, whatever we have passed it in the request body, and also we will get all other details, whatever we have passed it in the request body. So after making the post API call, we will validate the status code, and also we will validate the first name and total price, and also we will validate the check-in. So now I will go to the Eclipse IDE. So let's prepare the first request body, and after that making the post API call is very easy by using the REST assured. So here I will go to the com.testautomation.aptesting.tests package, and here I'll create the another class called post API request. So that's it. So we have the class now, and here I'll add the one TestNG test method, public void, and here I'll specify the method name as create booking, and I will surround this method with the @test. Then I will import it from the org.testng.annotations. So that's it. So now first we need to prepare the request body, and after that we can make the post API call using the REST assured. So we can prepare the request body using the JSON object, that is the first way, and the second way is we can use the external files such as text file or JSON file, and the third way is we can use the POJOs. So firstly I will discuss how to prepare the request body by using the JSON object. In the later of this API testing tutorial series, I will discuss how to prepare the request body by using the external files and also POJOs. So now let's prepare the request body. So here I'm creating the two JSON objects. So here I'll specify the reference variable name as, let's say, booking, and I will use the new operator, and I will use the JSON object here. So that's it. So similarly I will add the another JSON object called booking dates. So you might be having the question why I'm adding the two JSON object. If you look at this post API request body, So this is the one JSON object and this is the another JSON object. So that's the reason I have created the two JSON object. So let's take the one by one key and let's add into the our JSON object. So here I am using the booking reference variable, that's a booking object. By using that, I'll say just put. So simply we have to specify the key name as a field name and we have to specify the respective value here. So here I'll specify the first name as API testing. Then I will add another few fields. So I will copy this whole line. So that's it. So we have added the first name. So let's add the next field, that is last name. So here I'll specify the last name as tutorial. Then next field is total price. Of type, we have to specify the integer value. I'll add the total price as a field name and I will specify the some integer value over here. And next field is deposit paid. So we have to specify the boolean value. So I will specify the key first, then I will specify the true here. So that's it. Let's add the next field, that is additional needs. So we have to specify any string here. So let's add the field. Then here I'll specify the string as breakfast. So that's it. And after that, we have to add the booking dates as the key, so that we will pass this particular object as the reference to the booking object. So here I'll specify the key as a booking dates and I'll specify this booking dates object to the booking dates key. So we have added all the variables, respective keys and the respective values for the booking JSON object. So now let's add the check-in and checkout fields to the booking dates. So here I'll say put. Let me specify the key and the value. First field is check-in and here we'll specify the first year and followed by month and followed by the date. So similarly I will add the checkout field to the booking dates object. So here I'll specify it as a 30. So that's it. So our request body is ready right now. So after preparing the request body, so now we have to use the REST assured library. By using that, we can create the post API request. So here I'll use the REST assured dot and I will call to the given method. So inside this, so first let's specify the content type, because we are testing the APIs which supports for the JSON. So that's the reason here I'm adding the content type as JSON dot, I'll say JSON. That's it. And if you look at this API, so here we have added the header as the content type as JSON, application/JSON, and so we can add this in the headers or you can specify it in the content type. So now, so we have to specify the request body. So that's the reason here I'm calling to the method called body. So inside this, I will simply take the object of this JSON object, that's a booking object. I'll take it. I will convert this into the toString. So that's it. So we have added the request body and after that we have to add the URL. So here I'm calling to the method called base URI. So inside this we can specify the URL. So simply I'll copy this URL and I'll paste it here. So we have added the request body and the URI, and now here I will call to the method called pen, that's a keyword, and followed by, so here we have to specify what type of HTTP method we are calling. So here we are calling to the post method. Then I will use the another keyword. So there I will assert the status code. So if you look at this API, so we are getting the 200 as a status code. Let's assert that particular status code by using the assertions. So here I'll say assert that followed by I'll say status code. So inside this we can directly specify the status code. So that's it. So let me summarize what we have done so far. So we have created the two JSON objects. So based on the request body, the first one is for booking and the second one is for booking dates. And we have added all the keys and respective values within the booking and booking dates objects. And after that, we have converted this booking into the string. In the given keyword, we have specified the content type and the request body, and also we have specified the URI. In the when, we have specified the post. If you look at this API, we have specified the post call, and after that we are asserting that this particular API is getting the 200 as the status code as a response from the application server. So let's execute this API test. So it should work fine. So basically we have done everything correctly, so it should get passed. And then later we can discuss how to assert the response body. So let's look at the result, what exactly the issue is. And if you look at this one, so we are getting the 500. That means there is some issue in the server. So let's re-execute the same API test. So later we can add the assertions for the validating the response body. So it is throwing the 500 as a status code. So let's try to execute one more time. So sometimes if there is any issue in the keys and the values what we have specified, because of that also we will get the 500 error. So it depends on the API how they have developed it. So we have made a simple mistake here. So let me tell you that. And if you look at this one, line number 26, we have specified the just check-in and check-in. So we have to specify the checkout here. So let's modify this out. So now it should work fine. So let's execute the API test now once again. So these are the silly mistakes. Even you might be doing it. Be carefully while adding all the keys and respective values. So that's the reason I have mentioned. So there are other ways to prepare the request body as well. So in the next tutorial, I will discuss how to prepare the request body by using the external file. So it contains all the request body. And if you look at this, our test result, so it is getting passed. There are 0 failures. That means, so we are able to make the post API request by using the rest assured, and also we are validating the status code. So let's validate the first name and the total price, and we will validate the check-in. So let's validate the first name. So if you look at this first name, so it is present inside the booking object. So we can access this first name by using the booking dot first name. So let's go to the Eclipse, and here I will add the body. So inside this body, we have to specify the path first. So let's copy the object name. So we have the booking dot and followed by the first name. Let's copy the first name. So that's it. So this particular path will returns you the API response first name, and after that here we have to specify the expected value. So here I'm using the matches dot here I'm calling to the equal to. So inside this one we can specify the expected value. So in our case first name should be API testing, so that's a reason I will simply pass the API testing as a first name here. So that's it. So let's execute this API test now. So it should work fine because we have entered the correct first name. And also we will see the negative scenario also. We will try to pass the invalid name where eventually our test will get failed. So let's wait for the results in the console output. So it will take few seconds, and if you look at this one, our test is getting passed because our API response is contains the first name as the API testing. So if I specify something else, 1 2 3, if I add it at the end, so this time first name it will be not matching, so that's the reason it will get failed. So let's execute this API test once again. So similarly I will add the validations for the total price, and also we will validate the check-in. So check-in is present inside the another JSON object called booking dates. So we have to specify the first booking, then booking dates dot check-in. So let's look at the result now. So let me maximize this console output, and if you look at this expected, so expected is API testing 1 2 3, and actually we are getting the just API testing. So this is the expected failure only. So we have the mismatch in this booking dot first name. So let's validate similarly total price. So here I'll just remove this 1 2 3. So I'll copy the whole line. I'll paste it here. So similarly I'll add the total price. Then I will specify the 1000 here. So this is the expected results. So if it is a string, then only you can specify inside the double quotes, and if it is a integer value, directly you can specify inside the equal to method. So this is how you can add the validations for the integer values. So let's execute this API test once again. So it should work fine because we have added the proper values in the assertions for the total price field. Now next we will validate the check-in, which is there inside the booking dates object. So let's wait for a few seconds. We will get the test result. So if you look at this one, so our test is getting passed. There are 0 failures. So let's add the validations for validating the check-in field. So if you look at this check-in field, which is there inside the, so firstly we have to specify the booking dot. After that we have to specify the booking dates, and after that we have to specify the check-in, and after that we have to specify the simply expected values. So I will copy this one and I will add the another line here. So after booking we have the booking dates dot check-in, and here we have to specify the expected value. So simply I will specify the expected value. So whatever we have passed it in the request body for the check-in field, so simply I will copy this value. So it should match. So let's execute the API test once again. So we have added the validations for the nested JSON object also. So this is how we can add the validations for verifying the status code and the response body, which we are getting it from the application server. So let's wait for the few seconds. We will get the test result for our API. And if you look at this one, our test is getting passed. There are 0 failures. So this is how you can create the post API request using the REST assured, and also this is how you can add the validations for the API response. Now I will start discussing about the how to log the API request details which we are sending to the application server, and also I will discuss how to log the API response details which we are getting it from the application server. So I will open the post API request class and I will maximize this class. So let's log the API request details which we are sending to the application server. In the given keyword, so we have specified the content type, request body, and the URL. So if I have to log the API request details which we are sending to the application server, I need to specify inside the given keyword only. So after the line number 32, here I will call to the one method called log, and after the log, here we can specify what details we want to log it in the console output. So let's print the request body what we are sending to the application server. So here I will call to the method called body. So this will prints the request body which we are sending to the application server. So here we have prepared the request body. So all the details it will be printed on the console screen. So let's execute this API test now. Then we will print the what are the headers we are sending to the application server. If you look at this output, console output, so it is getting failed because of first name is not matching. That is fine. But before that, if you look at this one, so this is expected failure only. Just ignore it as of now. And if you look at this part, so it is printing whatever the request body we are sending to the application server. So first name we have specified the API testing. Additional needs we have specified it as a breakfast. So all the details which we have specified it in the request body, right? So here we have created the request body and we are passing this particular JSON object to the request body here, sorry, body method. So this is how we can print the request body. Then let's print the similar way request headers. What are the headers we are sending to the application server? So instead of here I have specified the headers instead of body. So now it will print the all the headers which we are sending to the application server. So let me just remove this part. So now our test should work fine. So let me execute this API test. Now it will print the all the headers which we are sending to the application server. So if you look at this particular output here in the console, so it is printing all the headers which we are sending to the application server. So separately you can print the request body and headers wherever the need is there. So if you don't want to specify explicitly headers or the body, directly you can call to the one method called all. So this particular method will print you the both the details. It can be the request headers and API request body as well. So it will print the both the details. Let's execute this API test now. And if you look at this one, firstly it is printing the request headers and all the details with the request method name, request URI, and the request headers, and also it is printing you the request body also at the end. So this is how you can print the request details which we are sending to the application server, and similar way we can print the response details. It can be the response body or response headers which we are getting it from the application server. So simply I will comment this line number 33. So after the line number 37, I will call to the one method called log. So here I will print the response, whatever the response we are getting it from the application server. So this will print the response which is having the booking ID and all the details in the response. So let's execute this API test now. If you look at this output, our test is getting passed and it is giving us all the details, including the booking ID and booking details, first name, last name, total price, deposit paid, booking dates, and the additional needs. So let's try to print the headers which we are getting it from the application server. So I will execute the same test once again. And if you look at here, so it is printing us the all the headers which we are getting it from the application server. And similarly, so directly you can call to the all method, so that will print you the both response headers and the response body. So here I will call to the method called all. So this will print the both the details. So let's execute this API test. And if you look at this one, let me maximize this console output. Firstly, it is printing the whatever the response headers which we are getting it from the application server, then it is printing the response details. So this is how we can create the logs for the API request details and the API response details. So there might be a scenario you can log only the you will have to log the details whenever the validation is getting failed, right? So that is also possible. So instead of calling to the all here, so simply you can call to the method called if validation fails. So right now our validations are getting passed, so it will not print the any API response details here in this case. So let's execute this API test, and after that we will intentionally fail this API test. Then that time it will print the all the details. It can be the response headers and response body. And if you look at this output, console output, so it is not printing any log details. That is the API response details, right? So because our test is getting passed, so that's the reason it's not printing us the logs. So let's intentionally fail this particular test now. Simply I'll add 1, 2, 3 at the end of the API testing, and this time our test will get failed and it will print the all the logs. So right now we have specified inside the then. So whenever validation is failed, then only it will print the response headers and the response body. And if you look at this one output, our test got failed and it is printing the response headers and this is the response body. So it is including the booking ID and all other details here. So this is how you can create the logs, and also you can specify when validations are failed, then only you can log the details. So this is a one way. So you cannot specify like this in every test case. So there is a best approach. You can specify it in the top of the test method, or we can create the different base test, and within that base test we can specify the rest assured dot, we can log the request details and also we can log the response details. So let us log the details at the test level, and after that we will log the details by specifying it in the base test. So simply I will remove this part. So let me comment it out instead of removing it. So we cannot write in each and every statement like this. So there is a best way. So this is one of the best way, and after that we will discuss another best way of how to handle the API test logging details. So here I'm calling to the method called rest assured dot enable logging of request and response if validations fails. So simply I will call this method. So this method will be invoked whenever our test is getting failed only. So right now our test is getting failed, so that's the reason it will log the request details and also the response details. So let's execute this test now, and you will see that it is going to log the API request details and also the API response details. So previously what we have done, we have created the logs in the given keyword, and also we have created logs in the then keyword also. So now we have created only single statement at the test level, then that will log the API request details and the response details. And if you look at this particular output, firstly it is logging the request details, and after that it is logging the API request body, and So this is the response headers, and then it is logging the response body. So this is how we can create the logs by using the single statement. So let us make it little more better approach for this one, for logging the API request details and the response details. So simply I will create the another package inside this src test java. So inside that particular package you will create the base test. So here I'll specify the package name as com.testautomation.api testing.utils. So inside this package I will create the one class called base test. So here I will write the simple method here, public void, I'll say before method, and I will surround this method with the @before method annotation. Then I will import this one from the org.TestNG annotations. That's it. So I will go back to the post API request class and simply I will cut this particular line and I will paste it inside the base test class. So this particular class we will inherit in the our post API request.java class. So simply I will delete all these empty lines, and at the class level simply I will use the extends keyword, and here I'll specify the base test. That's it, and you can import this base test. That's it. So now we are not specifying anything in the given keyword, and also we are not specifying in the then keyword also, right? So now what I will do, simply I will execute this test because right now it is failing. So let's execute the first happy path. So this time it will not log any API details. If I execute this API test now, and if you look at this console output, our test is getting passed. So let's fail this test intentionally. So simply I'm adding some other data in the expected result of the first name. Then I will execute the TestNG test now, and this time it should log API request details and also it should log the API response details. If you look at this one, so it is saying that it is there's a mismatch in the first name. And if you look at this part, so this is a request headers and the request body, and the next part is response headers and then the response body. So this is how you can create the logs by using the rest assured in the API testing. So far I have discussed how to create the get API request using the rest assured, and then I have discussed how to create the post API request using rest assured. Then I have discussed how to create the logs for the API request details and the API response details. Now I will discuss how to create the API chaining. So in this topic you will learn how to extract the any API response in the variable, and after that how to pass the variable data to the other API as a parameter. So let's discuss the first API testing manual scenario, then we can come to the automation side. So here we have already automated the create booking API, and here once we make the post API request, so here we are getting the booking ID and all the booking details which we have sent in the request body. So we will have to store this particular booking ID in the variable, and after that we have to pass this particular booking ID to the another API request called get booking details. So for this API we have to pass the booking ID here, so that this particular API returns us the booking details, and if I hit the send button, so we will get the response like this, because already we have created a booking and we are verifying that booking is present in the application server or not. So now let's go to the Eclipse IDE and we will automate this particular scenario. So here I will open the post API request class, and here so I will convert this post API request into the response. So here I will call to the one method called dot extract. So here we are extracting the API response. Then here I'll call the method called response. So this response method will return us the response type of data. So that's the reason I will assign back to the response type here. So that's it. And after once we have extracted the API post API call response, then let's simply import this from the io.restassure.response. So once we have the response of the API, so we have to extract this particular value in the response. So here we are having the booking ID, right? So how we can save this particular response in the variable? So now let's go to the Eclipse here, and here what I will do, simply I will use the JSON path. Sorry, simply I will use the response reference variable, and I will call to the method called path here. So inside this, simply I will specify the path of the API response. And after that, once we specify the path, we will get the respective value and we can assign back to the variable here. So simply I will specify this particular key, that is a booking ID. So before this, we don't have any JSON object. So that's the reason directly I'm passing the booking ID. For example, if I need to access the first name, so for that one, I have to specify the path as booking.firstname. So for accessing the booking ID, directly we can access it. So simply I'll copy this field name and I'll paste it here. So this returns us the booking ID of type integer type. So that's the reason simply I'm specifying the return type of this variable as int. That's it. So this particular variable has the booking ID. So now we have created this post API request, and also we have saved the booking ID in the variable. Now we have to create the get booking details API. So let's start creating this API by using the rest assured. So here I'm using the rest assured dot given keyword, followed by that I'm specifying the content type. So inside this one I'll specify the content type as JSON type, because this is the JSON web services. So this application server supports for the testing the JSON web services type. So here we have specified the content type, and then so we have saved the booking ID in the booking ID variable. So we have to pass this particular booking ID to this get API request. So which we are going to create it now in the few seconds. So here I'm calling to the one method called path parameter. So here we can specify the parameter name and followed by the parameter value. So here I'll specify the parameter name as booking ID, and after that I'll specify the value. So already this particular variable is holding the booking ID value, and simply I'll pass it here. So this is how you can extract any value from the API response, and this is how you can pass the parameters to any other APIs. So now we have passed the booking ID to the another API that means we are going to create the get API request. So after that, simply let's specify the URI, that's a base URI. So simply I'll go to the Postman tool and I'll copy this get booking details API URI and I'll paste it here. Then after that, simply I will use the when keyword. So inside this I will specify the request type. So we are making the get API call. So here we have to specify the path parameter. So here I'll specify the forward slash and this particular field name inside the flower brackets. So let me just specify it in the double quotes. So that's it. So simply I will remove this part because already we have passed that field in the get method. So after this, let's add the then keyword and we will assert the status code here. So here I'll specify the status code as 200. So that's it. Later we will validate the first name and the last name. And if you look at this API, get booking details API, so we are getting the 200 as the status code from the application server. So that's the reason I have specified the 200 here. And make sure that you are passing this particular variable, that's a field or a key, inside the get method properly. So if there is a mismatch, so you will get the exceptions. So now, so far what we have done is we have extracted this post API called response and we have stored it into the response type. By using this response variable, we are getting the value of booking ID and we are storing it into the booking ID integer variable, and we are passing this booking ID to our given method. So inside that we have called to the path parameter. So this is nothing but we are passing the parameter to the another API by using the response of the previous API call. And after that we have specified the URI, then we are calling to the get method. Inside this get method we have specified the parameter field name, and after that we are asserting the 200 status code. So let's execute this API test now. Then we will validate the first name and last name from the get API response. It will take few seconds because my internet is a bit slow also. So if you look at this output, our test is getting passed, right? So let's validate the first name and last name. So here I'll simply add the dot body. So inside this body, let's specify the path, and after that let's add the matches dot equal to. So inside this we can specify the expected value. So similarly I'll copy this line and I'll paste it here. So first we will validate the first name and then we will add the validation for the last name. So if you look at our request details, that's the API request details. First name is API testing and last name is tutorial. So simply I'll specify the expected value as API testing. In the second one I'll specify the tutorial as the expected value. And we have to specify the path from where it has to get the value from the API response, right? Let's go to the Postman tool now. And if you look at this get booking details API, so directly we are getting the first name, last name, and other details also, right? So no need to specify any other JSON object. Directly we can specify the first name and last name. So simply I'll specify the first name here, and here I'll specify the last name. That's it. Let's execute this API test now. So it should get passed. So this is how we can create the API chaining and how you can store any API response in the variable and how you can pass that variable into the other APIs as a parameter. If you look at this particular output, so our test is getting passed, right? So you can try at your end, start validating other fields also. You can start validating the deposit paid, or you can validate the check-in or the checkout. So this is how you can validate any API response, and also this is how you can achieve the API chaining in REST assured API testing.